Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Pink Aviatrix. Subscribe if you haven't already, like this video and share it if you find it helpful. So in today's video, I will be talking about flight schools and whether they are part 61 or part 141. And let me just preface this by saying, if I'm presenting any conflicting information to you, be sure to just confirm with the FAA or whatever the governing body is in your jurisdiction. So let's start. Part, as used in this video, refers to the section of the Federal Aviation Regulations that deals with how flight training is conducted. So Part 61 would be classified as unstructured, whereas Part 141 would be classified as structured. In Part 61, the instructor checks the student's readiness, whereas in Part 141, there is a set syllabus and stage checks are actually used to check the student's readiness. When it comes to the hour requirements for your PPL license, in Part 61, a minimum of 40 hours is required for the PPL license, the private pilot's license. Whereas in Part 141, a minimum of 35 hours is required for the PPL or private pilot's license. And in the United States, the national average is approximately 70 hours. So even though the minimum requirement is 40 and 35 for Part 61 and Part 141 respectively, most people tend to get their licenses in 70 hours approximately. For your commercial license now, in Part 61, a minimum of 250 hours is required for the commercial pilot's license, whereas in Part 141, the minimum is 190 hours for the commercial pilot's license. Another thing to note about Part 61 training is that it may cost more than Part 141. And that is because Part 61 is less structured, right? So you have a separate instructor fee, a separate ground school fee, and so that could send the cost for Part 61 training up. In Part 141 training, it's usually cheaper because ground school is included in the full package. Here's another thing between Part 61 and Part 141. If you decide to change your flight school, then in Part 61, less credits can be transferred to the next school. As a matter of fact, only 25% of your credits can be transferred, whereas in Part 141, 50% of your credits transfer if you change schools. So simply put, Part 61 is usually unstructured, relaxed, and a bit more flexible, whereas Part 141 is structured, controlled, and scheduled. So which one to choose? Really, that depends on your personal preference and also your budgetary and your time constraints, because this will determine how much time and money you have available to achieve your goals. And you can watch this video where I talked about how to set time-bound goals in aviation to help. Some flight schools actually have a combined program of delivering their flight training. So be sure to ask the flight schools that you're checking out how their training is delivered. And if you haven't already seen it, I have a video called How to Choose a Flight School in 5 Steps. So I'll link that video somewhere here so you can watch and have an idea of how to select a flight school. If this video was helpful, go ahead and like it and subscribe to the channel. And stage check and flex on your personal preference. Choose a flight school in 5 steps.